Futura that strikes the front with 100 metres left to go. And Futura is drawing clear. Futura wins the JMB Met.
Ian Longmore selected the horse at the same time that we did, without us knowing it. Jack and I went to see the horse strangely on our own, because we normally have a whole entourage walking around the sales that we're part of. And on this occasion we were alone. This colt walked out, and Jack and I just grabbed Jack's sleeve and I said, "This is ours." And I promise you, it was as simple as that. The moment we saw him move out of the box, we decided we were going to buy him. We didn't realize that we were going to have to pay as much as we did for him, because in my mind I like to conceptually steal horses at the sale. But Ian proved to be a strong adversary. We didn't know until after we'd actually got the slip in my box that Ian walked in and said, "Hey, you guys, it's impossible to beat. Can I have a share?" And then, of course, because Ian allowed us to, he outbid us on Jackson, and we did exactly the same thing. Went to him and said, "Hey, how about letting us have a share?" And Jack got half the horse from Ian, so we felt it only fair to let him do that. And it's a dream. It really is a dream.
You know, it's always hard to draw comparisons, but you know, Jackson was exceptionally talented. He just actually was unfortunate that he got to a point in his career where he stressed about a lot of things, and you know, he took his racing very hard. So you know, both times after he ran in the Queen's Plate, he had heat exhaustion, and you know, to win the following Group 1 races, you can't have any flaws in your prep, and I think that's basically the only thing that held him back. Whereas Futura is just totally the opposite. You know, nothing phases him. He's the most relaxed horse you'll ever come across. I mean, you know, the standard joke is everyone says the grooms have to pull him around the parade ring. But the minute the jockey gets on and you see him, he just livens up and he knows what he's here to do. And I think that's his trademark asset. He really, at home, he lies down a lot. He's always lying down. Apparently his father was the same. I don't know, but John Freeman tells me that Dynasty used to lie down all the time. So you know what, he saves his energy, and that's what makes him a true champion, apart from the fact that he's got the ability that very few horses have.
Got a fantastic turn of Futura. He's very similar to Pocket Power at work at home. Doesn't show lots at all. I mean, going into the race, Brett was working him with his horses as weak as possible, just so he could beat them. And but he was just so well in himself, and he was so confident.
You know, from the time I got him, he he just did everything right. And to be honest, he never showed a lot on the tracks at all. You know, he would just do what he had to do. He wasn't a strong worker. But credit to Glenn Hatch, you know, from the first time Glenn ever sat on him, he said to me, "Brett, this horse gives me a feel." Glenn was spot on, you know. I mean, this horse just kept improving. Every time we raced him, I mean, he won his debut start over 1200, which I didn't think he could win, and he did. And then from then on in, he just got better and better. And, you know, I mean, he's only ever run in 4 Group 1s now, and he's won 3 of them. And in the July, he ran a close-up 3rd. So it just shows you, you know, Glenn was spot on, and yeah, just an amazing horse to train.
He's a fantastic horse to ride. He's so easy to work with. I can't even tell you. He's probably one of the easiest horses in the world to ride. And yeah, he drops it completely. If you want him to commit and be a little bit closer, he can. He's got a fantastic action and a turn of foot. So when you do ask him, he covers ground and he picks it up quickly. And yeah, he's the kind of horse that even if you are in a little bit of trouble, you seem to get out of it, because instead of the gaps running away from you, you're running into the gaps. And yeah, it just makes riding him so much easier. Yeah, well, I was drawn 9, and I had Louis the King drawn on my inside. And I was always sort of going to ride my race to be within a length or 2 of Louis the King, because he was always a horse that I was a little bit worried about. And we jumped out and we were going along, and I was watching him. He got in on the rail about probably 2 lengths in front of me, and I was always watching him, and he was going quite well. And my race just worked out so nicely. I got one off the rail, and I had Carl on my inside. And like I said in my interviews, when you got Carl on your inside, those big races, you know you're in the right place. And yeah, I just had such a lovely race, and I didn't get any bumps or anything. If nothing went wrong, and I was just so confident when we were going through about the 1200. I thought, geez, it's going to take a real smart one to beat me now, because I always knew I could outsprint them. And we came into the straights, and instead of switching out and going for a clear run, I sort of just bided my time, and all the gaps opened, and he sprinted away to win a good race.
It's Futura that strikes the front with 100 metres left to go. And Futura is drawing clear. Futura wins the JMB Met. Close behind that, Gold Onyx and Helderberg Blue in a photo. Then came Talina back in fourth.
He found himself in the middle of the field, but he was travelling so well, in fact maybe a tad too well. Came into the straight, and Bernard took the option of going in, which we thought was quite frightening, and my heart sank. And then a gap opened up. Bernard started to move into the gap, and the gap closed. So I had somebody say, "Oh, well, you know, you're lucky the gap opened up for you." I said, "Yeah, I'm unlucky that it closed again." It was just sheer brilliance on Bernard's part for timing it to perfection, and the courage of the horse that got him through. He's a good horse.
Yeah, I think it just shows you the caliber of horse that he is. You know, slow pace, fast pace, whatever they want to do, he's up to the task. And I agree, the faster they'd gone would have probably been better for him. But you know, these good horses, that's what makes them champions. They can turn a bad situation and make the best out of it.
I've been really fortunate to ride some really good horses in the race, and previously won it twice with, talking about the JMB, I've won it twice with Pocket Power, and it was just nice to get on a really smart horse like Futura again and have a really good chance of winning it. And I'm just so happy that everything went according to plan, and he's a really smart horse, and he won really well.
We've had trials and tribulations in this race. We won it 12 years ago with Angus and waited a long time to get a horse good enough to run again. And we had Jackson 2 years in a row, Favourite 2 years in a row, and obviously the disappointments of both those years. But you know, what a pleasure and what a way to win. I mean, the way he came through them and just put the field to bed, it was scintillating.
Truly, I wanted to win the Met more than I wanted to win any other race. And having that, I really mean that, and having this horse, a son of Dynasty, do the race and win it for us, for me, with a company that I enjoy in the partnership. Though I'm a small partner, I can assure you they make me feel very much part of it, and it's a delight.
The Queen's Plate was actually quite an easy race because I was always going to drop him out, and I made Legislate obviously my line horse. I remember coming into the straight and I saw Louis the King go out. I could have followed him out, and I decided, you know what, I'll go for a clear run and follow Legislate. And I thought Legislate would quicken up, and he didn't. All of a sudden I found myself hitting the front so soon, and I was a little bit concerned, but yeah, he won a good race, and it was just another race that worked out really nicely for me.
Louis the King over the top. He's wearing down Futura, drawing to the judge. Futura beats Louis the King.
I must be honest, I think he'll do any distance. He's just that kind of horse, you know. If you put him over 2,000, 2-2, and give him a little bit of a chance, bide his time, and you'll probably outsprint him at the end. You put him in a shorter race, he'll probably do the same thing.
If the owners were willing and wanted to do an international campaign, I think he's the right horse. He's got the temperament, he's got the ability. But in saying that, it is very difficult for us to get our horses out. So they lose a lot of months of race time. So, you know, basically between Jack, Ian and John, they're going to have to make the decision. I mean, you know, I personally would love to see him on the world stage because I think he'd do South Africa proud.
I'm loath to go on to international stage. It's full of potholes. It's a road that so many have travelled before with disaster. And Dynasty's first horse of the year, son, was a horse called Irish Flame who went overseas. And it took a long time for him to try and find his feet there, and then in modest company. No, I personally, and I can't dictate to my partners, they're the majority shareholders, but if anybody asked me if I had a vote, I would say I'd much rather have a champion at home than try and attempt anything overseas, really.
Dynasty is the word and the stallion on everybody's mouths at the moment. And boy, he's just set the stage alight with his progeny.
Yeah, Judy, you have to say he's the sire of the moment. They call him the super sire, they call him the sensational sire, they call him, all the superlatives are being added to the word Dynasty. It's an incredible pride for us, having bought him as a yearling, and then for me having managed his career in my team, and Highlands, who obviously were happy to buy into him and had the courage faith to buy into a South African bred stallion, because you know at one point in time South African stallions weren't the be all and end all of the Jetmaster Captain Allen Dynasty have silenced that argument very quickly. Sadly, their stud life is a little short, as we know, because Fort Wood passed away just 2 weeks ago. But there's Dynasty, and Irish Flame's already at stud, Jackson's already at stud, and you've got Legislate and Futura to follow. And I'm going to lead naturally into that next comment. Yes, Futura will go to stud. He has got the heart and the courage, and he's a beautiful-looking son of his father. That line will live on through Dynasty sons, I'm sure.
Does he have the pedigree behind him?
His dam sire, Badger's Drift, won the Derby. He was by Badgerland. He's one of the greatest broodmare sires in the country. Out of a mare who was broodmare of the year on the roof. That part of the pedigree secure. His female line has bred champions. Just last year, the Zimbabwe Horse of the Year, Akina, came out of that family. I bought her as a yearling for Peter Moore. So I love the family. Plum Duff, it's a solid, very, very solid, good South African family. If you asked me who had the better pedigree, Jackson or Legislate or Futura, you've got to say Jackson. His third dam fills a whole page of international champions. But that doesn't necessarily make him a better horse. You know, it's the way they carry their genes. And if Dynasty is going to be a predominant sire, breed with any son that's a champion.